Not done swinging and missing. I feel like just yesterday we were doing making the case between Simeon and Lynch, of course, and Osweiler, and who should start. What do you make of this?
I was driving around last night. I had to run some errands. We had a kind of a household emergency. I had to get baby wipes last night late. Bad issue. I'm listening to NFL radio. I'm listening to the great Pat Kerwin and Jim Miller. They had Vance Joseph on. Vance Joseph was talking about John Elway and how he evaluates quarterbacks, and he's saying it's hard for him because he was so good that he sees all of their shortcomings. He said it's like Jordan looking at basketball players. They're never going to be as good as you. So what has Elway done? Elway's gotten Brock Osweiler and Paxton Lynch. Big, tall, big-arm guys who haven't panned out. That would point you to, if he's going to do it again, if he says he's not afraid to miss again, that sounds like Josh Allen. I think they're going to go on for Kirk Cousins. If they can't get him, I would not be surprised if Elway said, screw it, I'm a made guy. You know the hell I am. I'll miss again. I'll go for the big-arm quarterback again, Josh Allen. Just my take.
No, I agree with that completely. But on the flip side of that coin, saying that he was so good that he looks at the shortcomings, I believe that he picked quarterbacks over the last few years that weren't the greatest because he was so good and he felt like he could make them more than what they are. It's like taking a dish and making this his 5-star meal when really it was only 2-star. Now he's going into free agency. The first thing he said is, we're going to explore our options in free agency, which means they're going to go after Kirk.
They are.
Everybody's going to go after Kirk.
They may not get him.
They may not get him, which means he's going to wind that bat up and he's going to swing and he's going to swing again. Now, here's the thing, though. When you do that and you say you're going to get a quarterback in the draft and say, all right, let's shoot our shot, let's get one of these guys in the first round, which one are you going to get? Are you going to get a guy that you think is ready right now? Or will you wait a little bit and get a guy that you feel like you can build on? Because having guys that you feel like you can make better hasn't worked necessarily over the last few years for John Elway.
You know how in The Bachelor when it's like 20 girls trying to get the guy, but you can always, even in the first episode, there's really, you know who the final two are going to be.
They gave out first impressions rose.
The front runners.
Sure, yeah.
I feel like for Kirk Cousins, you know that it's the Broncos and the Vikings. And there's other suitors, and there might be a dark horse in the race, but it's those two. Does John Elway, being who he is, calling him Gangster John, the gravitas, the fact that he brought in Peyton Manning, the fact that he was such a prolific quarterback himself, does that tip the scale in his favor over Vikings, which might be a better situation right now?
I would hope not. Listen, Kirk Cousins, I'm sure, has a huge appreciation for John Elway, the great, the helicopter play, the rings. But that doesn't mean anything next fall. Go to the best situation. I know he's a legend, and you respect that. But when you're out there on Sundays next fall, are you going to be glad that you played with Denver because John Elway is cool, or would you rather be in Minnesota or somewhere else because they have a better setup?
How aggressive are they going to be, Peter Schrager, in going after Kirk Cousins or taking one of these quarterbacks with their number 5 overall pick?
Okay, they're going to be aggressive. They're in the conversation. You mentioned it. It's going to be the Vikings themselves and the Jets really going hard for it, and obviously Arizona's been rumored as well. The issue here is now budget. Let's think about what the Broncos want to do. They've got this aging defense that still could be one of the best in the league. They've got players that are stars. Chris Harris, Aqib Talib, obviously Von Miller up front. The draft pick at 5, which you hope you never have to pick in the top 5 again as long as all these guys are together, the draft pick at 5, you're going to pay 4 years, maybe $30 million. If you go after Kirk Cousins, we're talking 3 years probably, maybe 4, at $100 million, right? So it's a total different way of how you're allotting your resources. And if you're John Elway, do you want to go with maybe a guy like Cousins who can probably be thrown into the mix right away and you're spending your entire budget and you have to cut a lot of veteran players? Or do you say, let's start anew, let's go in with one of these guys? And the 2 names I would give you for Elway, which is interesting. He was a California guy, obviously, with his giant rocket arm, went first overall. Josh Rosen's intriguing. The other name that is fun because of the way he plays and the kind of swagger he has and kind of the way he carries himself, which is similar to John Elway, is Baker Mayfield. I think that's an interesting pick at number 5 overall if the Broncos wanted to go that way. I don't think Mayfield is going to go in the top 4, and he might not go in the top 10, but Broncos, Elway, Mayfield, it is very, very intriguing. And if you've got a guy with that kind of swagger and energy, when you put him as the face of your franchise, as opposed to maybe a Lynch and a Simeon who weren't ready to carry that torch from Elway, it does kind of fit personality-wise. It makes the draft so interesting because there are 5 different first-round caliber quarterbacks, and you can make the case for pretty much any of them in Denver.
It is bananas, the quarterback situation, throwing Kirk Cousins into the mix. I feel like even just the Viking situation with the QBs is such a microcosm of what the entire league looks like.